Now I'll read a little bit of passage from the Tibetan Book of Living Dying, called The Spirit Warrior. Even though we have been made to believe that if we let go, we will end up with nothing. Life itself reveals again and again the opposite. The letting go is the path to real freedom. Just as when the waves lash at the shore and the rocks suffer no damage but are sculptured and eroded into beautiful shapes, so our characters can be molded and our rough edges worn smooth by changes. Through weathering changes, we can learn how to develop a gentle but unshakable composure. Our confidence in ourselves grows and becomes much more greater, and that goodness and compassion begins to naturally radiate out of us, bringing joy to others. That goodness is what survives death, a fundamental goodness that's in every one of us. His Holy Dharma always speaks of the goodness in all beings. The whole of our life is a teaching of how to uncover that strong goodness and a training towards realizing and strengthening that. Now, if you have the Tibetan Book of Living Dying, for example, it's on page 39. That's the section, of important one. Impermanence has already revealed to us many truths, but it has a final treasure still in its keeping, one that lies largely hidden from us, unsuspected and unrecognized, yet most intimately our own. The German poet Rainer Maria Rilke has said that our deepest fears are like the dragons, guarding our deepest treasures. The fear that impermanence awakens in us, that nothing is real, that nothing lasts, is, we come to discover, our greatest friend, because it drives us to ask, if everything dies and changes, then what is really true? Is there something behind the appearances, something boundless and infinite spacious, something with which the dance of change and impermanence takes place? Is there something, in fact, we can depend on that does survive what we call death? Allowing these questions to occupy us urgently and reflecting on them, we slowly find ourselves making a profound shift in the way we view everything. With continued contemplation and practice in letting go, we come to uncover in ourselves something, by the way, in quotes, because it's not really something. It's not nothing either, because we have to say something. Something that we cannot name or describe or conceptualize, something that we begin to realize lies behind all the changes and the death of the world. The narrow desires and the distraction to which our obsessive grasping onto permanence has condemned us begin to dissolve and fall away. As this happens, we catch repeated and glowing glimpses of the vast implications behind the truth of impermanence and death. It is as if in all our lives we've been flying in an aeroplane through the dark cloud and turbulence, when suddenly the plane soars above these into the clear, boundless sky. Inspired and exhilarated by the emergence into a new dimension of freedom, we come to uncover a depth of peace, joy, and confidence in ourselves that fills us with wonder and breathes in us gradually a certainty that there is in us something that nothing destroys, that nothing can alter, that cannot die. As the great Tibetan saint, poet Milarepa, he wrote, "In horror of death, I took to the mountains. Again and again, I meditated on the uncertainty of the hour of death. Then, capturing the fortress of the deathless, unending nature of mind, now all fear of death is done and over with. Gradually, then, we come aware in ourselves of that calm and sky-like presence of what Milarepa calls the deathless, unending nature of mind. And as this new awareness begins to become vivid and almost unbroken, there occurs a turning about in the seat of our consciousness, a personal and utterly non-conceptual revelation of what we are, why we are here, and how we should act, which mounts in the end to nothing less than a new life, a new birth, almost you could say a resurrection. What a beautiful and what a healing mystery it is that from contemplating continually and fearlessly the truth of change and impermanence, we come slowly to find ourselves face to face in gratitude and joy with the truth of changeless, with the truth of deathless, unending nature of mind. Because you see, you will come to realize now, slowly, what happens at the moment of death. The main thing is that when we die, what dies is not only our body, but also our ordinary mind with all its delusions die. In the teaching, he said, anger dies, desire dies, ignorance dies. All the 81 thought states, emotion states related to the what we call negative emotion, they all die. And there's a moment as they all die, it's like all clouds die, and finally you have a glimpse of the clear blue sky. It's like that all your ordinary mind die, but then what is revealed behind it is the fundamental innate mind of clear light. In the Sarma tradition, it's called fundamental innate mind of clear light. And in the Dzogchen teaching, it's called the ground luminosity, or the mother luminosity dawns, which means basically in the Buddhist teaching that we all have Buddha nature. I remember one master used to say when he was young, he used to think that Buddha was a statue. But as he became older, he realized that Buddha is a great teacher. But then as you come to realize teachings more, he realized the Buddha is one's mind. One's mind is the Buddha. As the first human Dzogchen master, Dzogchen is said to be Dzogchen and Mahamudra are said to be the highest teaching in the Tibetan tradition. This great master called Garabdoj, he said, mind is and has always been the Buddha in its true nature. You understand? So what happens is that, but yet because of the clouds, even though our nature is the Buddha, but all the cloud, because of ignorance, negative actions actually obscure our inherent sky-like nature of mind. So when we die, for a moment, you see this in end of chapter 15 and 16, that the moment you see, then you see there's a gap in which the clear-like nature mind dawns. In the actually near-death account, they speak of a tunnel of light and seeing the great light, they were sometimes associated with God very much. You can read that and you see that. And then in the Tibetan teachings that you see in the teachings, then if you've been introduced by your master to the nature of your mind, because most important is the nature of mind, to really realize the essence of. In fact, Padmasambhava, the great master who brought Buddhism to Tibet and who is the author of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and also the teaching on what's called Pardos, which are teaching on life and death, of which the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying is very much part of his teaching. He said the main task we have in this life, he said, what is the main, when he essentialized it, what is the main thing for us to do in this life? He said, now when the pardo of this life is dawning upon me, I will abandon laziness for which life has no time. Enter undistracted the path of listening, hearing, reflection, contemplation, meditation, and making perception the mind the path. Realize the three kayas, the enlightened mind. Now that I have attained the human body, there's no time on the path for the mind to wander, which means through the wisdom of listening and hearing, through the wisdom of contemplation, reflection, through the wisdom of meditation and application, to come to slowly come to realize, to purify our mind and our perception, and to realize the essence of mind, the nature of mind, the compassion of mind, really, to our enlightened nature. That's the whole goal, the purpose to realize. In Buddhism, that all series of lives is an evolution to enlightenment. According to Buddhism, we believe that all beings ultimately will become enlightened.